we go.
Gotta turn
This is us. Yeah, this is us now. This is time for us to go and talk intelligently and show the world that we know what we're doing.
We do?
Yes, this will be different this week. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is our Monday Night Live. Wow. So the screen I'm following the stream on is showing Harry Potter commercials right now. So I can't even see if we're really on or not. Bring on the strippers. Yeah, that's our Irish Mexican friend who's bringing on the strippers.
Okay.
Monday night live chat. We're here tonight. We've got an hour of first one thing, then the other. Is that a good way to describe it?
That's the way it always is. One or the other.
One or the other. MJ, Mitch, Dan, myself, we're going to be talking for the first a little bit about getting ready for summer events and a way to kind of avoid burnout in the summer, because summer is such a busy time running and back and forth and left and right. So I wanted to kind of dig into that and see what we can do. If you guys are seeing, hey, if I just hit that button, there we are. Now we're showing up. Sorry. Okay. I get nervous when I don't see us.
We were up the whole time, John.
Yeah,
your general babbling about summer and hot and
yeah.
So we're hot for summer and heating up. And
exactly, because it's a big time of the year.
Burning down, and
each of us do a little bit different in the summer events and summer things. And
thanks, Mitch, for having that song stuck in my head.
Watch out.
Okay.
That was great.
It was a great setup, man. It was a great setup.
I know.
Set.
Next.
So summer is coming. Let's kind of talk a little bit about that. This is the time now. Dan and Mitch are really predominantly. You guys are wedding guys. Summer, MJ. Let's kind of start with you. And I know this is kind of putting you on the spot. What is now? You don't do much for weddings. You are basically kind of a club guy. What does summer? How does that work and turn out for you?
Outdoor events, things for like car cruises and stuff for like the American Cancer Society, different things like that. Do events. I just picked up and I start in 2 weeks on an outdoor cafe for happy hour. So that's a summer thing for me too. So a lot of little things like that. There's always parties that are outside or different things like that. There's certain clubs that have decks or rooftop bars that you go outside and do stuff. But it's kind of the same. To me, the seasons kind of meld together. It's working one way or working another.
Gotcha.
Not really a season for me, but but it is. I don't know.
A little bit.
Does one seem to slow down as another picks up for you then, as you talked about melding that way, or is it?
It wanes, it ebbs and flows. We were talking about this before we went on the air about ebbing and flowing continually, and that's one of the things with being and doing clubs and bars and stuff, is that places open, places close, trends come, trends go, and you don't have a season. You could have a dead time in February the same as you could have a dead time in August, but the next year August might be crazy.
Yeah.
So it's not really, it's an up and a down, but not predictable almost. But I don't know, if you hustle, you can keep yourself busy. That's like John had talked about networking. That's one of the biggest things. I guess we're going to talk about that later. I still tell people, if you have a night off, just go somewhere, see somebody. There was a DJ battle here in the city about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I knew about every DJ in the city was going to be there. So I went just to hang out and network. And man, was it crazy. Like literally, I had friends that stood outside for an hour to get in. It was so packed. They couldn't get in. We hit capacity. But it was a whole night of schmoozing and networking. And, hey, don't you work over there? Hey, we got to do a wedding this summer. And, I ran into a friend of mine, DJ Dollar Bill. That's what he goes by. Him and I did a wedding around 2000 there. And I was like, wow, man, it's a flashback. But yeah, that's about it for me.
So we're going to jump in and talk about wedding. Before we do that, we've got to jump to now. What's kind of cool, gang, is we've got some sponsors for the month of April. Yay!
Awesome.
So we are going to let you guys check out our sponsors for April, and of course, links for these different things are down below in the description. So, with no further ado, here we go.
The PV Dark Manor Series power enclosures deliver best-in-class performance with custom settings for specific environments. The Dark Matter enclosures produce crystal clear, professional audio. PV Electronics, perfection in music and audio. Quality Kids Entertainment is sought after by parents and daycare centers everywhere. Bubble parties can easily be added to your existing services as a wonderful and unique event. Mention you saw this ad and get 10% off our special offer if you sign up before April 30th. So contact Bubble Parties today before this offer gets away. DJ Event Planner will change the way you manage and run your business. Streamline all of your procedures and software into one easy-to-manage system. DJ Event Planner, the ultimate online planning tool. The LD Systems Curve 500 is the world's first truly portable array system. With 2,400 watts of peak power and a 120-degree array, the Curve 500 is the ideal solution for DJs who care about their sound and presentation. Learn how to make money while you sleep with automated email marketing for your event or business. Get access to the training for free by going to profit911.biz/DJN. Profit 911. More customers, more cash, less stress.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is our sponsors for April. If you see someone you don't know anything about, go down and click the link in the description below and check them out. Even if you know who they are, go click the link down below and give them some love because they are helping to bring these shows to you. So getting ready for summer. This is prep time for summer. Now, Mitch is coming from one perspective. Dan's going to come from the other perspective. Gentlemen, weddings are both of your big things for the summer.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Let's start. Mitch, you were just during the commercial break talking a little bit about your prep. So at this point in time, what are you prepping for right now as a staff?
So our team, we are constantly prepping about 6 months to 3 months in advance. We have 2 different planning meetings with our clients. We do our first planning meeting with our clients 6 to 4 months prior to their wedding day, again, depending on where they fall and how busy we are schedule-wise, things like that. And then we do a final planning meeting with them 3 to 2 months out. So right now we're doing our first planning meetings for our clients in September, October weddings. And we're also doing final planning meetings for our June, July brides. So we're in planning meetings. Tomorrow I'm pretty much just stack.
So
meeting with clients.
So in your meeting now, you have a staff. There's more than just you that are entertainers. Now, are you meeting with everyone as far as you're meeting with your clients and others, or are you basically just meeting with yours and you just have that many lined up for tomorrow?
Great question. So what we do for our process, either myself or my office manager, Allison, who also writes for Disc Jockey News, one of us will meet with the clients for the first planning meeting. And then if there is a different MC besides Allison or myself, that MC will meet with their client for the final planning meeting. So basically 3 to 2 months out. So the June, July ones we're finalizing right now. They're going to meet with Simon. They're going to meet with Brad or myself or Allison, depending on what the talent is they have for the final. For the first one, it's either Allison or myself typically.
Gotcha.
I'm curious now, what is the big difference between your 2 meetings? I mean, without going into 8,000 details here, but
sure. The first meeting essentially is just kind of getting an overview of what they want for their event, kind of like a skeleton, if you will. What elements they're thinking about, maybe some new things they've never thought of before. We're bringing to the table to give them some ideas, right? And we're going over their 9-page planner that we have in DJ Event Planner. We use for a sponsor here, and I use for myself. And so we go through that with them, kind of walk them through the day, what they need, and then, of course, offer other services. Maybe they didn't know that, we're having our ceremony outside. Okay, so have you thought about how your guests will hear your vows? So we're uncovering some of those needs as well during that first planner, typically, Dan.
Okay.
So now, Dan, as being more of a single operator and not having the staff, now you and I are both in this ballpark that we do our own shows and such. How are you preparing for summer right now as far as for your summer events?
I always try and plan 2 months in advance, or try and meet with them 2 months in advance, I should say. My thought, I used to wait. I'm getting attacked, cat.
Hi, cat.
It's like one all of a sudden here. Jeez.
We're live, baby.
Sorry about that. Let me move that for a second.
Kitty wants in.
Jeez.
Now, if we had kids, I mean, we'd have kitties no, it's puppies. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. So I'm 2 months out when I'm doing my planning, and what I found a lot of times is I try and spearhead a lot of the misconceptions some venues tend to throw our couples. Unfortunately, I get a lot of, you have to do this first. And a lot of times just talking with them, I'll kind of, no, let's, listen, you're going to hear this, you're going to hear this. What do you want to do? So we get more of that. And I try to do that 2 months in advance, because what I found is my busiest time for my full-time job is the fall. When the school year starts ramping up, that's just insane for me. So by doing it 2 months in advance, I actually have it so that all of my nitty-gritty detail is being taken care of during the summer, so that when I get into the fall, I'm fine-tuning. I'm taking care of those little things. And the spring, the teaching year is still going on. I'm still having to deal with that, but it's some parts of it my planning for my school year is already done. So I'm able to commit to my summer weddings and focus on them. What I'm finding now with the family aspect is my son decides he's going to do everything spring sports. So that's another story. But so back to the original question, really, like I said, 2 months out is a lot of my planning for the summer, and meeting with couples to see exactly what they want and kind of gearing towards that.
Now, with both of you, of course, are planning and communicating with your couple so early. Now, do you find that makes it more stressful or less stressful? And I realize the answer should be less stressful. But when we have brides who are making decisions 2 months out, do they have any of that stress as they get closer about maybe changing their mind on different things, and does that build on them?
You want to take it first, Mitch?
I can take whenever. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Interesting you say that, John. For me, when you're handling, we're a small boutique multi. We do about 100 events a year. So for us, it's a case of we want to have that planning in that far in advance. So we can hopefully line everything up and make sure it's going to flow smoothly. It's easier for me for meetings. It's easier for my clients to help take that stress off them. Do you have some brides that will throw the last minute things at you? Yes, absolutely. And that's why attention to detail and having a system like, DJ Event Planner is so crucial for us, so that every last detail is covered. And you want to have a flow chart. I think Matt Radicelli spoke about it actually at Mole Beat Las Vegas, and it's something I'm implementing into the business right now, a Gantt chart in regards to, who reports to whom. So same thing in regards to this, that bride's information comes in. Is it the salesperson? Is it the DJ? Is it, me? Who is handling that to make sure that nothing gets missed from the talent to the office, if that makes sense?
Sure. Yeah, that definitely does. Because that's one of my biggest fears, I think, as a multi, when I was doing that, is the things that are missed. The number one fear is that call on a Saturday afternoon saying, "Hey, where is so-and-so?" Then your next one is missing something. "Oh, yeah, you called about that first dance 2 weeks ago and that changing the song, and I forgot about it."
Mm-hmm.
How about Dan? How about yourself now? Have you plan everything? You've got if you have a September wedding and you're like, okay, school's going to be crazy, and in the end of August, I'm not going to be able to really do much for you. Do the clients have any pressure, or do they show any of that stress as you get within that September time, where they're like, I made these decisions then, but now I'm kind of changing my mind, and can we do this? Can we do that?
The way I gear it with them when I'm meeting is that it's not about we're doing this 2 months out because I want to lock you into something and we can never talk about this again. But rather, I'm meeting with you 2 months in advance so that we know what you don't know. Like I'm a little old school still. I'm planning on going digital, and I think Event Planner would be great. So let's just say for right now, though, I do the old school with the paper, and I have brides that will come in and nothing's filled out. And so we start going through that, and then we have, these are stuff we have to talk about. This is stuff that we have to fill in. And I give them kind of a timeline of what we do is we take care of the big things. And then the little ones are being filled in as we go. But I also tell them, listen, we can make changes. I always tell them, anything you want to add or edit, I'd like by the Sunday before. Anything that you want to delete, we can do the day of, but obviously advanced warning is appreciated. And that seems to make them feel a little bit more relaxed. They go into it knowing that, I can make changes if I want to. I would say probably 95% of the time I don't get any changes. Except for the ones that didn't know something and they have to add it. But they're not making any changes, and they like having that taken care of. And then I send them an itinerary. Probably about a week and a half, 2 weeks out. put one on their table so that they don't even have to think about it 2 weeks in advance. Now they know when they get there, oh yeah, that's right, we talked about that. And it seems to make a lot of the things go a little more smooth.
Right.
A little smoother as it will. And definitely it seems to be a lot less stress. Like I've had some who are just like, I don't know what to put. Okay, that's fine. Now we know you don't know this. But I'd rather know that now 2 months in advance than 2 weeks in advance, or even week of, like I know some people meet. And I'm like, you're going to get crazier, and they're going to get crazier.
Yeah, oh, for sure. It's really tough to get them to focus that week, that 10 to 12 days beforehand. It seems like at 2 weeks out, they're still with it, I think, is the best way to describe it. But boy, you get within that 10-day, and all of a sudden it's like talking to a 7th grader on sugar.
Well, with my own wedding, I there were so many little things that I never even realized were going to go into it. And my wife and I were just like, she had come down the week beforehand and was just like, and they started working on these little things. It was like, oh my gosh, stuff that I never even would have thought we needed to do. And so, yeah, that week of, my caution I would throw out to you is if you are the type of person who meets clients the week of, move it to at least 3 weeks of. I say 2 months, but definitely help yourself out. Go farther forward. It's not going to hurt.
Okay, let's move away from, we talked about the wedding and the planning. Let's talk about what kind of things do we need to do to prepare ourselves for summer events. Maybe on the mental side now, just you as an entertainer, as getting the mental side ready and the maybe the physical side ready. Is there something that you do to get yourself ready for summer that way?
I hydrate. I'm horrible when it comes to drinking like water and stuff throughout the year. I drink probably a little bit more during the school day, but weekends I'm horrible. Summer, I'm pounding Gatorades on the weekend and stuff like that because I almost have an effect of a hangover the day after, and I'm not drinking, and I get this really bad headache. So I've learned that I need to make sure that I'm hydrating more, and physically that just helps me, especially recover a lot better.
Interesting.
For me, it's mental. It's taking time off even before I start the season. For example, literally next Monday, I will be on vacation with my wife in Anguilla for a week. Mm-hmm. So I'm taking that break now. Allison's running the office for us for a week, and I'm able to get that break in before we really hit that season full bore, I try to schedule myself and my staff for at least one Saturday off per month. You can't always do that, mind you, but you may have a 6 to 8 week run where you're going to be straight ahead, but give them a Saturday off, if you can, every 6 to 8 weeks at minimum. Give somebody, rotate it, right? So that they can have that mental break and not feel like, oh my gosh, I've done 18 weeks in a row, Mm-hmm. And this is different dealing with millennials versus, I don't want to say back in my day, but that's the truth. I mean, I used to do 50 to 60 weddings, in Metro Detroit. It was nothing. Yeah. And I was 22, 24, 25, whatever. Now I need that mental break, and I find that our millennial staff does too. So I think mentally taking breaks and giving them time to, acclimate and get that time off they want. And then also the day of. My staff knows, and it's in our handbook as well, when you come into the office, your entire focus is on that client. Leave everything else at the door. And it gives, if you have stuff going on in your personal life, then that also gives you a mental break from that personal stuff going on. Yeah. If you're devoting all your attention to that client, it gives them that mental break of, fighting with the boyfriend or the girlfriend, or, dealing with parents, or whatever the case may be. So try to make sure they're mentally focused on, it's that bride and groom's one of the most important days of their life. What's one day out of yours to give up for them? Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of mentally how we prepare on both sides of the fence there a little bit.
Let's look at gear, equipment. What type of thing is there anything you guys do to get your gear ready for the upcoming season? And MJ, this might even be something because if you're doing some mobile shows in the summertime, is there something you guys do? I mean, to get ready for summer with your gear?
Mine is usually after outdoor events. I literally take the shop back and put it over top of each fader and vacuum if there's dust, because it picks up, especially guys who use vinyl for, like, for their DVS systems, their Serato. A lot of them don't even like using the vinyl outdoors because it gets dirty. So it's a lot of little changes like that. But mainly for me, it's keeping stuff cool, keeping an awning over top of the computer so it doesn't overheat. I've had so many friends that have lost computers and hard drives just because they didn't take a few minutes to put up make sure where they were at was in the shade. It'll be fine. Yeah, there's another 2,000 out there. So,
Ouch.
little things like that. Sunscreen, I posted that on the chat. Definitely, if you're a light-skinned person like myself that burns easily, I do.
Everybody's free to wear sunscreen.
I actually just posted that song the other day because I found a really cool island remix of it. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I posted it on my page. Anyway, sorry.
Nice.
Mitch, Dan, getting your gear ready for summer.
What I do is, before the season, a couple weeks before the season ever really kicks off, I go through a period of a couple months where I'm just not having any events. So I'll make sure that I pull everything into my house a good month in advance, and I just run it through a test in my house and make sure it's a time when my family's gone, and just crank it and let it pound and see what happens. Do the same with the lights, make sure everything's ready to go with them, and run with it. And then once, give it a good cleaning. Some of the stuff that unfortunately I should have been doing in the off season, but it wasn't till it was going right into it did I go, should have done that one. And because we wanted to make it look good and we want to make it sound good. And so those are the ways that at least I go through it. During the summer months, it's also cleaning out those fans. It's making sure that, especially if you're using powered speakers, that when it's pulling in the air, it can pull in the air. There was one time I realized I didn't check my stuff, and I looked in there and I was like, oh my gosh, like I've been playing in clean events. I've been inside. Why on earth do I have like this suction of dust? And it's the things we don't think about that can really kill you in the end of an event.
Mitch.
For me, it's, constant maintenance or knowing what's going on, because we have, multi-talent with our staff. They have to fill out a report at the end of each event that we do in regards to, is there something wrong, broken, missing? Do we need something fixed? Yep. How did the event go? Those kind of things. So for me, it's typically a constant thing to see where we're at. We do absolutely have what we call gear blowouts, where typically around March, April-ish, like we just had it 3 weeks ago now, we had gear blowout for our staff. So everyone comes in, they set up their rig, go through cables, go through, make sure everything works, make sure everything's plugged in, make sure you have everything you need. Is it in your case? Is there anything else you guys need? And then we go through that as well. We typically have a end of year as well. We talk about how the year went, anything you guys want, what are you looking to focus on in 2016, for themselves in regards to talent development. So, but for equipment, for us, it's gear blowouts, and then constant, throughout the year, finding out what needs to be fixed or taken care of.
The two things that I do that I'm going to add that you guys kind of talked about, but not so much. Mitch, you mentioned cables, to test cables. If you guys haven't gotten, there's a really cool cable tester. I don't have it with me because we actually used it last week in church, but it's a little bit bigger than probably about the size of this.
Here, I'll go grab it, because I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah, Ben from NLFX, that's where I bought mine. And you can buy them. Amazon everywhere has them. But we love Ben because Ben supports the DJ industry. There you go. There's a plug for Ben. What this does though is allow you to plug a wire into each side. You can plug in the XLR to left and right, and then you can test the wire. Wiggle the wire. Testing all of my wires in my kit is something that I like to do. Unfortunately, I do it twice a year. I just did it a couple of weeks ago here, the ones that were in my show, because I had to pull them out and wipe them all down, test them, and then there it is right there. You can plug things in on the left side, and then on the right side, and then there's the little corresponding lights that'll tell you if pin, on an XLR, is pin 1 connected, and if so, is it connected to the right spot, pin 2, pin 3, pin 4, or the shield. Great tool, $40, $50. I'd highly recommend that. Test your wires, because there's nothing worse than getting an XLR that works when it's laying this way, but if it gets kicked and it doesn't work anymore. Second one is I go through and I tighten screws on as many fixtures as I can. Speakers, just taking a Phillips screwdriver, just making sure that everything's set. I have lost feet off speakers, subwoofers especially. All of a sudden, it's like, why is that subwoofer thing sitting right there? Yeah, it's because the screw fell out and then the little piece popped off up inside during the gig. So now I have to go and take the cone out, push the little back thing, and then tighten it back. So spend a little time, do that. You guys have probably seen my Dots T-Par. That's what I use for my shows. All the little knobs, they come loose after about 4 or 5 gigs. That's constant stuff. But the screws on the speakers, at least once a year, I would highly recommend you guys tighten those. Okay. Anything else now to avoid burnout? We're going to try to give a little bit on that. Things that you guys do to avoid getting burned out during the busy season.
I would definitely. I've talked about this before. Even if you're doing what Mitch has said about taking off 1 week, or if you for some reason you're just like, I'm just not in a position I can do this, especially if you're single op, sometimes the flexibility that you give yourself is not what you might give it in a bigger context. Make sure you take at least one day, and if you don't feel comfortable turning off your phone, at least say, listen, I'm going to handle as little business as I can, and I say I'm not doing anything on this day. I'm not taking any meetings. I might field a phone call, but I'm not going to break time with my family, or I'm not going to break time for my own personal relaxation, if you will. And for me, I do that on Sundays because I start off the day with church. It gives me a chance to have the afternoon where I'm with my family, that evening with my family, and then I start the work week. And I've yet to have any couple who is just like, you won't meet with us? Like, your work day is a normal work week plus a Saturday? Like I have yet to somebody who's really balked at that. Now, maybe they are behind my back, but taking at least one day where you say, that's it. This is me and nobody else is. Well, maybe besides my family.
Mitch, you mentioned, of course, trying to take 1 weekend off a month. Is that something though that during the when you are doing shows, do you take a night off or a day off? Basically, Bill Herman's talked about that. He, I think, takes Mondays off because of Maureen, his wife's schedule. Do you?
Yeah, for me, in most cases as well, it's Sundays. Like Dan. I'm going to give you another suggestion, though. This goes way back to John when we first met, for crying out loud. You brought Michael Port in to speak at Northern Disc Jockey Conference in 2006, 7, something like that. I think it was 6. And Michael just wrote his book, Book Yourself Solid. And he talks about red velvet rope policy. Mm-hmm. You want to avoid burnout, only work with clients that you will do your best work for. Who wants to get up and go to work on a Saturday and dread leaving your family to go to work for that couple?
Yep.
And so if you're only working with clients that you want to work with and you're not getting up and dreading it, that also will help you avoid burnout. Because if you get up, dread it, then you're going to be burnt out. So something to think about there too.
Very much so. And I think that back in the days when we would basically take any gig, anyone who would throw money at us, that we would take that. Yeah, as MJ just said, and you learn to say no. That was something that was a difficult thing for us because it's like, okay, I'm a poor college student and I need to take anything for a gig I can, or I'm a poor first year teacher and I've got college loans to pay for, and my this girl that I'm dating is pretty. I think we might get married, and all these things would go together, and yeah, we'd take anything, and then we'd hate ourselves come Sunday. It's like, oh man.
Been there,
done that. Okay, guys, I think we're going to segue into our second half now. We've got our second round of sponsor spots. We're going to run these, gang, and we'll be back, and we'll be getting into our first question of the night.
DJ Event Planner will change the way you manage and run your business. Streamline all of your procedures and software into one easy-to-manage system. DJ Event Planner, the ultimate online planning tool. The LD Systems Curve 500 is the world's first truly portable array system. With 2,400 watts of peak power and a 120-degree array, the Curve 500 is the ideal solution for DJs who care about their sound and presentation. Quality Kids Entertainment is sought after by parents and daycare centers everywhere. Bubble parties can easily be added to your existing services as a wonderful and unique event. Mention you saw this ad and get 10% off our special offer if you sign up before April 30th. So contact Bubble Parties today before this offer gets away. The PV Dark Manor Series power enclosures deliver best-in-class performance with custom settings for specific environments. The Dark Matter enclosures produce crystal clear, professional audio. PV Electronics, perfection in music and audio. Learn how to make money while you sleep with automated email marketing for your event or business. Get access to the training for free by going to profit911.biz/DJN. Profit 911. More customers, more cash, less stress.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, those are the sponsors for our April shows 2016. If you have got a need, they have got the desire to fill that need. Yeah. That's poetry or something. Okay, in this segment, gang, we're going to be talking about an article that came out from a DJ. I think it was Pro Mobile, it was the magazine out of the UK, DJ magazine out of the UK, and they were talking about the idea that it's not good for a DJ to be stereotyping their audience. Meaning that if I look out into the audience and I see that we have an older audience for the night, that I would say, this is some 60-year-olds. They're going to like this type of music. And then I would basically just be playing that type of music for that audience. And he was saying that DJs tend to do this too much and that it can get you in trouble. And his recommendation was actually not to do much of any of that. And he went on to talk about more aspects of it and such. But he's not the first one I've actually heard. And I've had some say to me that when Brian and I talked about this on the music show, is that stereotyping your audience and basically looking at them and trying to guess what they want is a bad idea. So, guys, we each have different experience with different types of events. Looking out there and seeing the people, can you give any kind of an assessment just by looking at the audience?
I'm going to go controversial here. I'm going to say yes, not with 100% certainty, but at least when it comes to time periods.
Okay.
And I want to say like kind of a wide scale time period. I've been burned on the country versus not country stereotype. I did that before, and people that I wouldn't expect to like country did, and vice versa. But when it goes to the time period aspect, I have a lot of brides right now that, I'm meeting with them. They're the millennial bride. I know that they're going to like 90s and early 2000s, and that's what I'm seeing, and that's what they're responding to. I look at I did an event just this past weekend, and I looked at the crowd, and it was hired to do people who had a very well-to-do fundraiser for a local hospital, and I went, I'm going to play 80s, I'm going to play oldies, I'm going to play disco, and without fail, killed. I went to go newer, just to try, because I saw a couple younger people killed, like not in a good way, just kill the floor. So it was one of those things where my instincts were shown right. Again, it was kind of a wider range to, I'm not going to pigeonhole to say, oh, these are definitely going to want this song or this, 5-10 year period, but rather, a larger window. But yeah, I mean, I can't say I've ever been proved wrong, but I can't recall something offhand.
MJ, you were shaking your head like stereotyping an audience or looking out and is not a successful way.
There's two ways to look at it. One way to look at it is for the bars and clubs, you don't care who's in front of you. You only care what the owner or the manager wants. And sometimes that's the worst thing. There's a club here in the city that's very, very popular, and the owner will walk up and just tell them to play the stupidest songs. Like the artist Kevin Little from way back in the 90s, he'll say, play the Kevin Little song just because he likes it, and nobody else in there cares. So you get a lot of that. But I think I'm a firm believer in playing test songs, dropping something just to see a reaction, even if you have to get out of it after the first verse. Test and see reactions.
Give me an example of a test song.
Well, it all depends. If I'm at a bar, I might throw a test song.
You're looking at a bar with Mitch and Dan and I sitting in this bar. What would a test song be for the three of us?
I would probably go to Robert Johnson, King of the Delta Blues, with you guys. No.
I'm glad you say it didn't go. Deliverance? Anybody? No.
You guys have collared shirts on. Well, some of us do. So no, that's a judgmental thing. Collared shirt. Yeah.
Thanks.
No, it's a good thing. It's an upscale thing. But no, it's yeah, like they said in the chat room, Kevin Little turned me on. I'm not kidding you that the owner says that. But I believe in like looking at you guys, I would say 90s. But my test song would be to throw on something new, like the Quan or something.
Mm-hmm.
See your reaction to it, or throw on some new Nicki's new one, or then I would go the opposite direction and go, well, maybe do they like the 70s funk, and throw on some and see their reaction to that. So,
what would you? Let's stick with the first one. Your one would throw. You said the Quan.
Mm-hmm.
You what are you looking for from us? Are you looking for a turning around glaring at you? Are you looking at are
you tapping your foot? Are you moving your shoulder? Are you getting up and dancing? Reactions, smiles, singing along.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that song has connected with the people who are there in some way.
Okay, so we're looking for the reaction.
That's what I do. Yeah.
Danny,
I would say this is definitely a proponent. I'm just going to throw out of a pro for those DJs who are thinking about needing to mix. Like you said, being a test song and be able to get in and out. If you're not a mixer, getting in and out, yes, you can fade it, but it sounds like you're trying to kill the song because it's not working.
Mm-hmm.
So plug for those guys who need to start learning to mix. So, sorry, go ahead, Mitch.
A couple things on this. I totally agree with what MJ is saying in regards to you're playing reactions. John Taffer said of the mobile beat. To me, I also go back to what does my client want? What experience do they want? And I learned this, and I've learned this lesson a couple times over the years, not just once, but I performed a wedding in Metro Detroit at a very upscale country club for a pair of doctors. And frankly, we rocked it. Got a half-hour overtime, got a tip at the end of the night from the father of the bride. The evaluation came back. I got a scathing review from the bride and groom. Why? Because they didn't want a dance party. They wanted more of a cocktail affair.
Right.
And because I didn't have that communication back in the mid-90s that way, it wasn't to the level we do it now, then because of that, it wasn't what they wanted. It wasn't their expectations. So I think managing expectations of what the experience is you want your crowd to feel and have is huge as a DJ. And also being able to read that crowd. We just had another recent event here where it was a less experienced one of our talent, and I want to make sure they can read the crowd appropriately. And sometimes they're going for what they know and to get that crowd to dance. Well, look around you, and maybe they're just not a bunch of dancers. It's important, right, to read the crowd and stay in communication with the person who's hired you, what they want to create.
We're gonna get to the cocktail offering younger people and tying into the millennial video that MJ did last week. That's going to be another topic coming up here. I think that's going to be a fabulous discussion. No, that's good. That's good. I'm thank you for bringing that up. I hadn't even thought of that, but that's going to be a fabulous discussion. Now, I from my aspect and from my experience, there aren't too many times when I look at a crowd and I can't pick most likely the type of music that they're going to like. But then again, I'm talking a wedding, so then I have a little bit wider window. So that's what I was trying to see. Is MJ's talking most likely a narrower slice of an audience?
I kind of, when I look at it as whoever you're in front of. You got to test and see what they like, because if it's a wedding, you might have a wedding where they really get into the 80s. But then again, I've done events where I've had 45-year-old women that love Nene and Nikki and Rihanna.
Yeah.
You just kind of have, that's what I say, testing. And I definitely agree with Mitch about, the person who hires you, whether it be a bride and groom or a bar owner, they're very important.
Yeah, I've had grandmothers come up and want me to play Baby Got Back or whatever the case is. And that was 10 years ago. Grandmas are asking for that song.
Yeah.
So you can't sit here and say, oh, they're exactly going to like that. And here's the other thing. Because of how splintered we are musically now as a society with all different genres, you certainly can't pigeonhole like you used to in regards to, well, they like top 40, and they like 50s, and they like, no.
Yeah.
musically now.
Yeah, it's definitely, and I think we're going to only see more of that as we move forward because of that splintering of musical tastes.
Right after the shuffle button got invented on the iPod, where you get a mix of everything.
Yeah.
Everybody gets a mix of everything.
Oh yeah, and then any number of the internet radio stations are just astronomical that are out there, and Apple Play's wanting to be everywhere. I mean, even on your watch.
They're
Apple Music
even
Store.
killing SoundCloud.
Yeah, exactly. So, let's see. So let's jump to our next topic. Somebody asked about referral or incentive programs, and they were asking about it from the standpoint of actually in two different ways. One about weddings, and with venues, if you do some with a referral program there, a incentive for past clients, and they also talked about when a person is booking a club, and do you do something as a gift to the manager? So I figured this question is going to work pretty much to cover our bases on our guests tonight. So, do you do a kickback in essence? MJ is really, I think, what they were asking. They were asking when it came to the club side of it.
I completely do not understand the question.
The kickback, as far as if a manager says, is hiring you to be the DJ at Hooters, and they're going to pay you $200 a night, and the manager's like, yeah, I'll give you a chance, and then you throw them a 20 for them hiring you, kickback. Have you ever heard of anybody doing that?
Oh, people pay all the time. Yeah, pay to play. Very few people understand. I used to tour a lot, and if you go into any big festival, you think that the festival is picking the artists for the festival. They are not. Their record label is buying 2 hours of time on a stage, and then the record label decides who plays in that 2 hours of time they bought. It's always a pay to play when you get to the bigger areas. It's almost always, unless you're some big name and you seriously get invited, it's pay to play. And I know people have done it down in the smallest bars, but I just absolutely refuse to play that game. I think it lowers you as a human being to go, here, let me play. I'll give you money. We
see that though. Now that you mention it that way, MJ, at DJ Expo, every DJ you see spinning there would be someone's paid for that time for them to play. Maybe not at the same level as what you're referring to, but
a lot of those are exchange for what I call exchange for advertising. I give you booth candy, you give me a crowd in front of me by being someplace where I couldn't be. So I've done exchanges like that with places. I do the Pittsburgh International Auto Show. And it's simply for that one of the dealers gets me in to DJ the whole thing. I don't charge them; they get booth, and I get exposure to thousands and thousands of people over 4 days.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's a little different than going in someplace. And I mean, would you you brought it to me as the bar. Let me take it back to you as the wedding and party. I mean, is that a reality in that world? I mean, I can't imagine that.
For in some areas with some companies, they do. There's a couple of hotels in the Minneapolis-St. Paul Metroplex that some of those hotels are basically exclusive one company or another, because when you go and book, either the hotel will book the entertainment and then fulfill the contract they'll sell it for $1,000, and then they've got this company, the DJ company, that comes in for $500, or they will say, well, if you don't want to book our in-house DJs, we recommend you go here. They are the exclusive for our venue. So then the hotel will go and book them for $750, and then they give the hotel kickback of $100 for the show, whatever. I'm just throwing numbers out here, but the idea is that those companies have a consistent kickback for the hotel for booking them. There's
I've had DJ companies here in the city call me up and go, we want you to DJ this place, whether it be a bar or a club, and they pay $300, we're going to give you $250 and take $50, and I'll be like, no, it's some other sucker. I'm not going to go in there and make you look good and you take, I'm the one doing the work.
Yeah, and that's a little bit different than a finder fee when you're working under your own.
Booking agent is different. I used to have a booking agent. He got 15% for whatever he booked. So if he booked a tiny gig, he got a very tiny 15%. But if he booked something humongous, he got 50% of something humongous. And I think that's a little different when you go into contract with someone like that. But I don't know. There's no rule says you can't do a kickback.
Agencies are different, in my opinion. I've had an agent before too, MJ. Agencies are different. What John is speaking of, in New York City, it happens all the time.
Yeah.
You don't get into a place unless you're throwing a kickback. Up here, no. I want to refer people because they do great work. I've dropped people off my referral list because they haven't taken care of a client on customer service or work or whatever the case is. And, same thing. I want to be referred because we do great work. I don't want to be referred because I'm going to flip you a Benji at the end, So that's always been my thing. Does it happen in major metropolitan cities? Absolutely. What John speaks of is absolutely 100% true. And what you have to do at that point then is get to the clients first. So if your performance is such that you're amazing and they're calling you around the same time they're booking their venue, then you're ahead of them in the food chain, and they will dictate to the venue they're going to have you instead. And they got to pay a fee, or they'll negotiate it with the venue or whatever. So, Dan?
I mean, I exactly what you're saying. I've heard it. I don't do it. My experience with a kickback, and it's not a kickback, it's a thank you. When I get a bunch of referrals from the same person or the same company, I send them a card, and I send them lottery ticket, or I send them a gift card for something. Not every time, but around some holidays, or around especially if they've done a bunch all at once. Yeah, and I also give them love with the with the referral right back. But my philosophy has always been, I'm going to get better business, I'm going to get better results from doing it with those I love to work with and those I love to refer than I am if I ever throw money into the situation. I can't say I haven't thought about it. I kind of had the same question. Should I do a refer? Should I give this hotel contact, or sent them my lead an extra $50 or $25 out of the price? And
again, depending on where you position yourself, for example, I have a venue coming into my office tomorrow to shoot their video segment for our Tuesday Tips from the Pros. We do a video segment every week. We feature a different wedding pro, event pro on our Facebook page, and it's tips from them about how to hire their service, how to look for a venue, what are the latest trends and they're seeing, things like that. So now it's not a spiff in regards to money, but it's an opportunity for them to get more eyeballs to their venue, to that hairdresser, to that massage therapist, to that whatever, so you're giving them an opportunity to network and grow their reach. That's another way to do a kickback per se, and then it's both win-win.
Day and Night mentioned,
is buying someone lunch for helping you get a gig, does that count as a kickback?
Well, I think that
Dan got me a job.
I don't think so.
I'll take you to lunch.
I think there's the different reality in the way we're looking at this. And I know it was tongue in cheek the way you said it, but let's go ahead and put it out there while we're talking about it. What is the expectation when they send me that lead, or when they try and book me? Are they doing it with the intention of, I'm going to get the money, I'm going to get the lunch, I'm going to get whatever, or are we giving them a kickback afterwards of something, whether it's randomly, because we appreciated it? It's thank you versus kickback. And I think thank yous, regardless of whether it's the promo shoot, the thank you cards, the lunches, whatever, is a very solid way of doing business. And I don't want to. My personal philosophy is the kickbacks are kind of shady.
Well,
maybe that's extreme, but
Charlie Tremendous Jones is a mentor of Jeffrey Gitomer, and I've read his book Life is Tremendous, and I'd definitely recommend anyone pick it up. Charlie said in his book, and I love this quote, if you're giving to get, you're not really giving, you're trading. I just think it's a great quote, and it definitely applies in this.
Very accurate. Yeah, I would.
In this aspect,
I've had this conversation with a couple of higher end DJs, and I say higher end DJs on the higher end on the price gamut, and we get to the point where it's like, okay, so if you knew that it would cost you $200 to the venue manager at your preferred venue where you love working with the staff and you can create magic, if you knew that you could, by just paying them $200 for every event that you book there, would you do it to continually book shows on a regular basis? And it's interesting number of entertainers that are higher level entertainers that are like, yeah, I think that would be the best money I spent if I could be working there, because I know the type of client that they attract, and they attract a magical client that's a good fit, because we are all at doing that type of thing. And it's it's interesting that, we look at it and it's like you frown upon it, but yet it's like, if that would lead to the perfect fit on more occasions, I don't know if I would say I would always bastardize the process, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Is because I think there's some places that could be used.
You can look at it as an advertising budget too.
It really is.
Several ways to look at this. We do a folder we have for our clients, and we actually have a venue in the folder. We have a florist in the folder, and they pay to be in the folder of ours. Mm-hmm. We pay to be in the folder of a couple different venues in the area. We're recommended by them, but does that mean that it's a pay Ola thing? I don't think so. It's just
advertising.
Yeah, you definitely radio termed that one.
Sorry.
That's all right. No, I picked up on it. I was just like, oh, okay. Yeah, but that's putting their name in front of you. That's not, hey, I'm going to pay you because you booked me as their florist. You know what I mean? Like, you booked the florist for them. I don't know. Yeah, I guess, there is a fine line there.
It's advertising to me at that point.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I guarantee people do it everywhere all the time, but I think it's, is it right or is it wrong? I don't think you can almost attach to that.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's one of those gray area things, and it probably is more the intent to a point. Mm-hmm. If you're buying love on a street corner, it's probably not a good thing.
But also, and you go back to the hotel, you talk. I know I'm gonna totally.
Now you went from the street corner to the hotel now.
Yeah, talk about right turns.
That was actually probably a wrong turn.
Yeah, probably.
It was a wrong turn. Oh my goodness! How did we get off that?
About being paid.
Yes, that's what it was. Yes.
You're hooking yourself out. Yeah.
Looking penub. Oh.
Wow.
Okay, guys, we've got about 7 minutes left before we wrap things up, and I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about a couple of things, about specifically what we're going to be doing with DJNTV come summer. Right now, we've got April, May, and somewhere about mid-May, we're going to be kind of scaling things back. Right now, we're doing 2 shows a week. We've got our shows going. Mitch, you and Vicky, have you guys talked about what your plans are for summer with Creating Connections?
We will still keep a podcast going once a week. We sometimes will record those a week in advance, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But we are going to be keeping the podcast going once a week. So you'll still be able to find Creating Connections on DJNTV and download it on iTunes, get it on a podcast on your car, and listen to it if you want. But yeah, we'll still be shooting podcasts throughout the year. Cool.
MJ, with the Rewind Report, what's your plan for summer?
Same as it ever was.
Nice.
No, actually, to me, it's year round. I just keep going as things come out and I try to do them. It's all part of what I do, but I am considering, John and I have talked about it a bunch of times. I have people in the club side that want to do the same sort of thing we're doing here, but strictly for the clubs. With national touring DJs have contacted me about coming in and doing interviews. And I seriously thought about doing a weekly show, just sitting down with someone and asking them the kind of questions like, how did you get started? Where do you go? Any suggestions, or maybe someone who's really big, somewhere, asking them, what kind of equipment do you prefer? Bad story nights or something. But I've actually had quite a few, and I mean quite a few people that call me all the time saying, hey, how's that show idea coming? Do you think you're going to do it? And I'm like, give me some time, because I'm trying to figure out the format, but that's something that I think I could do year round. I think that could maybe fill some spots in the summer of just simple little half-hour sit-downs with people who actually get out and tour.
Cool.
And we have a few of your staff, the DJ News staff, that actually gets out and tours, and does things. So
there's a lot of the people we work with do a lot of cool things. But from my standpoint, what's going to happen, gang, is we're going to continue doing the Monday and Tuesday live shows, and our last live week, that's going to be a full regular week, is going to be May 23rd, 24th. The 16th, I've got guests basically lined up between now and the 16th. On the 23rd, we're basically going to have the Brady Bunch night. And then the 24th, we'll do our last music show for the summer. We will be doing a couple of live shows throughout this, probably like one a month. I'm going to be doing one with probably the crew, and then Brian and I were going to do one show. But a big thing. This is part of as we talked earlier about the whole not getting burned out, not getting stressed out, and having time with family. A lot of you have been wondering how we could keep this schedule up. We've had, some weeks, when we were down in Mobile Beat, we had 9 shows, live shows we did. We've been running 2 or 3 shows every week here since the beginning of the year. The reason for that is because this is our time to do this stuff. This is the time to put that effort into it. Once my kids are done with school and they are off for summer, my Tuesday tips are going to be coming from the boat. And there might be some on how to tie, how to, yeah, how to. Yeah. That's exactly right. You're going to hear that. It's going to be awesome. That'll be our intro song. But so for those of you who are wanting to, you like our Monday shows, we really appreciate you watching and such. But summer is going to be the time where, and this summer especially, I'm not going to be traveling as much as I did last year, because it's a summer that I need to spend with my children, with my family, because I just haven't been able to spend that time with them through this winter, and it's looking like it's going to be a great summer for us to do that. So I'm really kind of excited about that. So MJ, the guys, they're going to be able to do their things. But as much as I love to do these videos and things for you guys, if I can do keep the Tuesday tips going, which won't be a problem. If I see you guys live once a month, don't take it personally. I still love you. We'll be back in September. But it's just one of those things that family's got to come first. And for those of you who are wondering, okay, now what are you going to do with your Monday and Tuesday nights, Ian? You're wondering what is life going to be like without the Tuesday night music show, Ian? What you will need to do is the first thing, Ian, is you need to go and take this time to maybe make a plan to do some networking with, if you don't, with the family, go plan to network with some people. As Mitch mentioned, we were talking earlier, is if you don't have the family, if you have family, spend time with them. Don't look at DJNTV except when we're live. Go spend time with family. If you don't, this is a time to network. This is a time to, as MJ mentioned, go see other DJs and to make some connections and such, because a lot of people are working in the summertime. It's a great time to go. Ian's on the chat board there. This is a great time to build relationships, whether that's with your family, whether that's with co or others in the industry, or even looking for some different business relationships. But it's a great time to build relationships. So we're going to call this the Summer of Love.
Oh,
wait, that's already been used. So we were.
If you need to go to a bar and find some love. Oh,
yeah, that's.
I thought it was on the street corner.
Summer of paid love.
That's buy some love.
Summer of paid love on the street corner. Speaking of that, I watched the movie, and I haven't watched this in a long time. The Wolfman Jack, the one where Wolfman Jack is in. Now I can't even think of the name. The '60s show that was 1963. All the '50s music. They're high school kids. Ron Howard was in it. American Graffiti. Thank you guys for helping. Yeah. American Graffiti.
What's his name's first big? Second movie.
Yeah, a lot. So if you guys haven't watched American Graffiti, by the way, there's a lot of good music in there. Interesting show, interesting time frame. Oh, shush, you guys! This is where the older people.
Come on, MJ. It's not country.
Yeah, but still, it's good to like things. It's good to like things.
And again, for those of you it's a rainy night, you're at home. There's a lot of. We've been doing shows. We started doing these live shows in 2014. We have shows back. Some are really good. If you haven't watched the Jason Jones Mobile Music Thursdays, there's some really good content. If you've caught, even this year, we've had some fabulous content. If you haven't had a chance to catch that. And if you are part of the DJNTV Insider area, you're going to be getting some content there that you haven't seen before also. So that's something we'll be talking about more in a future show.
Somebody asked on the chat port about one of our virtual expos. Are we doing one of those?
We are not going to be doing a virtual expo. That was actually going to be we were hoping to do kind of a surprise where we're going to do a week of live shows again in there. But that's not going to be much of a surprise.
I ruined it.
But I wanted you guys. I wanted you guys to know. It's just that this is something we've been talking about because we've been doing the live shows. We wanted to kind of combine those. We're going to change it a little bit because of where DJ Expo is. DJ Expo is a little bit later this year, but we've got to put some things together because if we're going to do it, we're going to do it big and make it so it's really, really cool. And we've got some bigger guests. Although, we're not the smallest guys in the world.
Hey.
Kind of big and...
I'm going to be good.
Okay, fine.
Where I'm losing the conversation tonight. How did we get to...
He called us fat.
No, yes. Okay, guys, we're going to wrap things up. For those of you who are watching, I'm going to put a link I'm putting a link right now into the chat. That is Arnaldo, and I think Arnaldo and Shani are on that link. You can pop over there and check them out here in a few minutes. They are going to be talking about their typical rant stuff. Shani had a laundry list. So you guys can check that out. But other than that, I think it's time for us to hit the trail. Gentlemen, thank you very much for being on with me tonight.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
This is the Disc Jockey News TV crew. We'll see you again next week. Thanks for watching. Good night.
Bye.
The PV Dark Manor Series power enclosures deliver best-in-class performance with custom settings for specific environments. The Dark Matter enclosures produce crystal clear, professional audio. PV Electronics, perfection in music and audio. Quality Kids Entertainment is sought after by parents and daycare centers everywhere. Bubble parties can easily be added to your existing services as a wonderful and unique event. Mention you saw this ad and get 10% off our special offer if you sign up before April 30th. So contact Bubble Parties today before this offer gets away. DJ Event Planner will change the way you manage and run your business. Streamline all of your procedures and software into one easy-to-manage system. DJ Event Planner, the ultimate online planning tool. The LD Systems Curve 500 is the world's first truly portable array system. With 2400 watts of peak power and a 120-degree array, the Curve 500 is the ideal solution for DJs who care about their sound and presentation. Learn how to make money while you sleep with automated email marketing for your event or business. Get access to the training for free by going to profit911.biz/DJN. Profit 911. More customers, more cash, less stress.